What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Primetime Sports Podcast, hosted by Joey Malari. So tonight, Thursday Night Football is the Tennessee Titans versus the Dallas Cowboys. The Titans will be benching rookie quarterback Malik Willis, and will be starting Joshua Dobbs over him. And a big game for them tonight. I mean, it will come down to Week 18 between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans to see who will win the AFC South. But at the end of the day, it shows Tennessee doesn't have complete faith in Malik Willis. And Malik Willis is a rookie quarterback. He's played 8 games this year, making 3 starts. Last week, started against the Houston Texans, was 14 of 23 passing for 99 yards, 2 interceptions, and on the ground had 7 carries for 43 yards and a rushing touchdown. That rushing touchdown was actually his first NFL touchdown of his career, which is pretty cool. On the year, had a 1-2 record in his 3 starts with 276 passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. I understand it at the end of the day, benching him if they think Dobbs gives them a better chance of winning. And I do know that Mike Vrabel, head coach of the Titans, knows it'll come down to Week 18 between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans for who wins the division. So his eyes are probably set on Week 18, knowing tonight, okay, let's see what we can get out of Josh Dobbs. We'll bench Malik Willis since we're not seeing much out of him. Obviously struggled last week with 2 picks. And Willis also had under 100 passing yards as well, 14 of 23 passing, as I said, for 99 yards. So he probably saw Willis not doing much, especially in those 8 games he played this year, only throwing for 276 passing yards with no passing touchdowns and 3 picks, and said it's time to switch things up. So Josh Dobbs will be making his first career start tonight. He was a Steelers 4th-round pick in the 2017 NFL Draft out of Tennessee. He played in 5 games for Pittsburgh in 2018, just 1 game in 2020. In his NFL career, he's 10 of 17 passing for 45 passing yards, no passing touchdowns, an interception, 6 carries for 31 yards, making no starts. So at the end of the day, this maybe is just to see what they got in Dobbs and who's going to start Week 18, Dobbs or Willis. It probably comes down to how Dobbs performs tonight. And as I said, the AFC South will come down to Week 18, that showdown between Jacksonville and Tennessee. And I honestly think at the end of the day, no matter who starts, whether it's Dobbs or Willis, you have to think Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville gets it done and they win the division. But at the end of the day, you still have to play the games. And I think Mike Vrabel said, okay, we're going to see what we have in Willis and Dobbs. Let's play Dobbs this week against Dallas and see what we have in him so we know who we can start in Week 18 to see who makes the playoffs. So in addition to that move, the Titans also placed quarterback Ryan Tannehill with an ankle injury on the injured reserve and also ended the season of Bud Dupree as well with a chest injury, placing him on the injured reserve as well. So both those guys will be out for the remainder of the regular season and probably the playoffs as well, I'd imagine. Even if the Titans were to make the playoffs, you got to think both those guys are out for the rest of the way. In addition to that move, running back Derrick Henry is doubtful for tonight's game and unlikely to play with a hip injury, so that's another loss for the Titans. Rookie running back Hassan Haskins out of Michigan will be the lead back tonight for the Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry being out. Haskins had 1,327 rushing yards and 20 rushing touchdowns last year for the Michigan Wolverines. As a senior last year for that team, he was one of the best players in the team, had a great season overall. On the year for Tennessee, he has 11 carries for 50 yards on the year with no touchdowns and also 7 receptions for 31 yards. As I said, he was a great player in college, so at the end of the day, seeing what they have out of him in a game that Derrick Henry isn't playing isn't a bad thing, considering Derrick Henry overall has taken a beating for that Titans team over the past few years. Been getting every single handoff, and they really haven't mixed it up much. So seeing what they have out of Hassan Haskins tonight isn't a bad move considering Derrick Henry's out. And then also with Malik Willis on the bench, seeing what they have out of Dobbs and who's going to start in that Week 18 game. A lot of it probably relies on how Dobbs plays tonight and what they think they see out of him. And if he ends up having a good game, he'll probably start in Week 18 versus Jacksonville. As for Tennessee's draft this past year, they took Malik Willis in the 3rd round. Clearly don't have the faith in him this week, not playing him. As I said, they're going to see what they have in Dobbs. And then Hassan Haskins, their 4th-round pick in this past draft out of Michigan, will be the lead back. So their 3rd and 4th-round pick in this last draft, one is getting a chance to play to see what they have out of him with Derrick Henry being out, and the other one is getting benched for a 3rd-string quarterback with Josh Dobbs getting the start. So obviously not the best draft for Tennessee, but at the end of the day, they took Malik Willis knowing he'd be a project. And they probably didn't anticipate Ryan Tannehill going down with an injury and having to hand it over to Malik Willis with the season on the line. On the year, Tennessee was 7-3 at one point. Have lost 5 straight games, though, and now hold a 7-8 record on the year. As I said, though, somehow they are still alive in the AFC South, which is one of the weakest divisions in football besides the NFC South. And that'll come down to the Bucs and the Panthers this week. The Cowboys on the year, now switching over to who they are playing tonight. The Cowboys are 11-4 on the year. They defeated the Philadelphia Eagles last week on Christmas Eve, 30-24. Dak Prescott was 27-35 passing for 347 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Wide receiver CeeDee Lamb had 10 catches for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. The Eagles were without their potential MVP quarterback, Jalen Hurts. He was out in that game with a shoulder injury. So backup quarterback Gardner Minshew got the start. Had 24 completions in 40 attempts for 355 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks, and also added a touchdown on the ground, so 3 total touchdowns for Minshew in the game. Wide receiver Devontae Smith had 8 catches for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns from Gardner Minshew on the day. The Cowboys defense did not record a sack in that game, which is pretty surprising considering how much they typically do rush the quarterback and cause a lot of pressure. But at the end of the day, they did get a lot of turnovers. They forced 4 turnovers from the Eagles, while Dallas only turned the ball over once. So 4 turnovers for Philadelphia, only 1 for Dallas. Philadelphia had 6 sacks. Cowboys defense had none. But at the end of the day, they forced the turnovers. And turnovers are more important than sacks, especially when you have 4 of them, and Dallas only had 1 turnover. So Dallas winning that turnover differential 4-1 is a big deal, and that's a big reason they won that game 30-24. And there's only 1 punt in that game. So at the end of the day, it really came down to offense, with neither team punting the ball at all. As I said, Dallas punted the ball once, and they only turned the ball over once. Philadelphia turned the ball over 4 times and punted no times in that game. And another crazy stat was there were only 6 combined penalties in that game. So at the end of the day, it really came down to who was going to turn the ball over less, and obviously Dallas won that differential 4-1, and obviously got a big win there. So the Cowboys in tonight's game, they're favored by 14 points on the road tonight at Tennessee. Should be an interesting game. You have to think Dallas probably covers, with Dobbs never throwing a passing touchdown in his career and making his first start. Dallas also needs the game for NFC seeding. So they're going to want to win the game, and obviously probably put the game away early if they could, so that they could rest their guys. But I think this game will probably be pretty close to the spread, but I think Dallas ends up covering it by, let's say, 17 to 20 points. Anyways, it does close this episode. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to this. As always, I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good one. Thank you.